Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker. This is Sporting Logically, and today is all about the biggest news of this past week in the crazy world that is the NBA offseason, that Kawhi Leonard no longer wants to be a San Antonio Spur. Once news broke that he officially requested a trade from the team, we all freaked out and started firing up the trade machine to try and find some realistic deals for him. But now that things have calmed down a little bit, and I've had some time to look at the situation as a whole, I'm here to tell you 4 things that you need to know about any Kawhi Leonard trades. Number 1, Kawhi prefers to play in LA, but that means absolutely nothing to the Spurs. Once the initial report broke, it was soon followed by the news that Leonard was eyeing one of the 2 LA teams as a trade or free agent destination. This is in line with some of the other rumors that have been floating around that Kawhi and his group didn't think San Antonio was doing much for his marketability, specifically as it relates to potential shoe deals. There's nothing wrong with Kawhi having a destination in mind for his 2019 free agency, but as of right now, as it relates to his trade request, that doesn't mean anything to the Spurs. He doesn't have any leverage to try and push his way to a specific team, in contrast to last season's Carmelo Anthony situation in which he held a no-trade clause. That isn't to say that he doesn't have any leverage at all. His impending free agency is what allows him to be confident that the Spurs will end up trading him before this coming season. But they're going to send him to whichever team they feel offers them the best deal, regardless of Kawhi's preferences. Number 2, there's almost no way he ends up in the West next season. Contrary to what I just said at the end of the last section, there's almost no way that the Spurs send Kawhi to any team in the West. That isn't to say that they'll decline any offer, just that it would take a pretty sizable one for him to be traded within the same conference. This is based off multiple reports that Greg Popovich has a rule against big trades with teams in the West, so as not to have a hand in creating superpowers within their own conference. Not only that, but the organization doesn't seem likely to be interested in a huge rebuild, with Pop only having a few more years of coaching left in him before retirement. So trading Kawhi within the West would create a much bigger roadblock to their success than if they just sent him to the East. Just like with the first part of this video, Kawhi very well could end up in LA as a free agent in 2019. But if he does get traded this offseason, it very likely will be to a team in the East. Number 3, Boston and Philadelphia each have enough to get him, it just depends on how much is too much. Now that I've established that Kawhi is most likely going to be traded to the East, the 2 teams that immediately come to mind are the Celtics and the Sixers. After all, these are the 2 teams that look to be the future of the conference, and they each have the opportunity to make big moves this summer if they choose to do so. If they wanted to, they could each offer San Antonio more than enough to pry Kawhi away from the Spurs. But the question will be, how much is fair value, and how much would be too much for a guy that might be playing on one leg and could just bolt for LA 12 months from now? To be fair, the last time that we saw Kawhi play for an extended period of time, he was one of the top 5 players in the league. But after only playing a handful of games this past season, there's a lot more risk involved in trading for him than you might think at first. Number 4, he likely won't play for the Spurs next season, but won't be traded until after free agency. With the way our brains work as NBA fans, as soon as we heard the news break, we automatically started thinking about all the super teams that a Kawhi trade could help create, and eagerly anticipated a trade in the near future. However, if only as a result of the timing of it all, it seems like an actual deal won't happen until at least the biggest free agent dominoes have fallen. But once all of those dominoes fall, I would imagine that Kawhi Leonard has played his last game in a Spurs uniform, and that he'll suit up for a different team next season. Who that will be or when exactly the trade will go down remains to be seen, but as always, it will be very interesting to see how the situation develops and if the Spurs have any chance of salvaging the situation.